Art and war. Both are so different from each other, yet they are often related, and they both play a huge role in the history of a nation. War is the violent, sometimes necessary brutality, which is a product of human nature. With war comes change in nations and the creation or alteration of culture. Wars are fought over freedom, they are fought over religion, politics, money, power, and so much more. What else do we as humans have that represents so many important aspects of our lives? Art. Art could be considered the one thing that distinguishes us as human beings from other species. Not only is art a physical representation of everything wars are fought for and more, but art is also something that is fought for, fought to protect, sometimes fought to destroy, or oftentimes war itself can lead to the inspiration to create works of art. A great example of art that represents cultural pride, war, perseverance, and a nation's history is Salomon van Ruysdael's painting, River Landscape with Ferry. Salomon van Ruysdael, also known as Salomon de Goyer, was a Dutch painter of the Baroque style born in 1600 in Naarden, Netherlands. Ruysdael joined the Haarlem Guild of St. Duke in 1628, which was a city guild for painters and other artists in early modern Europe. Later, Ruysdael became the leader of the guild in 1648. The same year that Ruysdael became the leader of Haarlem, the Dutch signed the Treaty of Munster, which ended the war between the Dutch Republic and Spain, and gave them independence from the Spanish, who had ruled over them for 88 years. Many Dutchmen then set out to explore the beautiful lands they could now claim as their own. Ruysdael was one of the many who were fascinated with the newly claimed land, and he was known for his artistic focus on landscapes and river scenes. These were Ruysdael's main subject matter in his paintings, most likely due to the fact that the people of that time were so prideful of the newly reclaimed land. His most famous work of art is River Landscape with Ferry. This painting is his most iconic and represents the culture of the Dutch people because it was painted shortly after the treaty was signed, and it depicts life on the Dutch waterways and the beauty and serenity of the Netherlands. In this painting, one of the main focuses is a large castle. The castle is important because it represents the prominent Dutch families that played a large role in establishing the social and political structure of the Dutch people. The depiction of the trees and the subtle reflection in the water bring a delightful frame-like aspect to the painting, bringing focus to the river ferries, people, and the cattle, which portrays the simplistic, newly independent life of the Dutch. Ruysdael also gave the painting depth by painting in front of and behind the trees, showing the sense of community along the river. This work of art is a great representation of the Dutch pride in their beautiful land and represents relief after being freed from Spanish control. Dutch pride in their land was stripped away from them once again when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands during World War II. It was also taken from them in the physical representation of that pride, River Landscape with Ferry, when the Nazis confiscated the painting. Hundreds of years later, Ruysdael's painting ended up in the possession of a Dutch Jewish art dealer named Jacques Goudsticker, who lived in Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands, and had a very large and significant collection of art. Not much is known about how Ruysdael's painting ended up in Goudsticker's art collection. When the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, Goudsticker fled the country with his family in 1940, leaving most of his extensive collection of art behind. Unfortunately, aboard the ship that Jacques Goudsticker and his family were fleeing, he died in an accident on the boat. Because Goudsticker left most of his art collection behind, when the Nazis invaded the Netherlands, they looted what was left of his collection. River Landscape with Ferry then became part of Hermann Göring's art collection later on that year. At the end of World War II, the painting was recovered by Allied forces and returned to the state of the Netherlands in 1948, where it changed possessions among several different museums. The painting finally ended up in the possession of the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam and was on display from 1960 to 2006. In 2006, the Ruysdael's painting, along with several of Goudsticker's collections, were returned to the remaining heirs of Jacques Goudsticker when the Dutch Advisory Committee recommended in favor of the Goudsticker family. After regaining possession of several of the paintings in the Goudsticker collection, River Landscape with Ferry, and several more of the collection re-entered the art market. The National Gallery of Art in Washington, D.C. purchased Ruysdael's painting, which is the painting's current place of residence. Many might argue that the painting should be returned to the Dutch and the Netherlands because it carries so much of the Dutch culture and history. But nonetheless, its restitution brought it to Washington. The question still remains: who owns culture? And when times change and nations evolve, where does art carrying a strong meaning and heavy culture belong?